We're not at the table that makes decisions. We're not at the table. We're not at the health agenda, believe it or not. It's just used for political gains when they need it. But so whose fault is it? Is it my fault I haven't kicked enough doors in, or I haven't spent enough time? And that's how I got those big programs going, because I made a conscious effort. I need to be at this table because they've got a lot of money.
This is Heavy or Not, the OG Swim Guide, episode number 71. Coach Barry Healey of BC Canada provides an update on the insurance journey. We aim to provide fundamental, rock-solid support to coaches and help grow sports participation and the profession of coaching.
Talk to them about the insurance issues. See if I can get some answers out of the insurance company.
LEI. Who are they?
An insurance company that falls under that works with the Canadian Coaching Association. That's where their insurance coming from. Their big insurers would be Lloyd's of London and Marker. They're the two main players in both North America and in Canada. Those two, Marker especially, has been buying up small insurance companies. That's why in my role, where I'm not getting anything by Swim BC, I think it was an email I sent you when they first started. They were taken over by Markle, and now they just use Markle as the main insurance. I can't understand why we've never been able to get this stuff from Swim BC, what we got yesterday. By law, that's what you're supposed to get, right? I like this. I don't need that. I'm worried about this, right? And it's changing every year. Every year. Gallagher used to say to me, we'll go through with it and then we'll start plugging the holes, parents' holes. Oh, they found a way through how to get past this. They found a way how to get through that. That's before computers were even on the scene with us originally. But sometimes he didn't make a big deal, didn't want to get upset about it, just wanted to plan. Hey, I never thought anybody would do that. And he would spend time talking to his board about the impact if we don't plug that hole. And that's how he was. I think the Aussies, because of their background of running everything from learn to swim in their own facilities, probably were ahead of Americans and Canadians and even British, because they controlled everything. And all of a sudden, well, somebody doesn't want to pay these fees or this fundraising, or they want to try to jump a couple of groups. That affects my income and how I want the business to run. It's really about that. And what's coming back from Europe, I'll go over with it. He wants me to ask, where does me, self-contractor and professional contractor sits? Because that's not mentioned in any of the wording. And the relationships, it's addressed as employee, that type of stuff. So I'm going to bring that up. He says professional swimming coaches have three major big risks. This is what he's thinking. He broke it down to three. Termination, right? I'll read it. The contract is terminated with or without cause. We know that goes on. And they have no legal recourse to get the club to buck up for the lost income, right? You're gone. And professional college coaches, on the other hand, make a fortune when they get fired and get a new job the next day. That's the difference. That's where he comes from. He's going, hey, fire me. It's going to cost $6.5 million. Not a problem. Give me the $6.5 million. I'm working for these guys tomorrow. Constructive dismissal. I've seen this in most of the cases. The contractor or somebody represents a contractor in the swim club's case, makes it difficult or impossible for the coach to fulfill his or his obligations to the contract, like going to a swim meet or needing approval for certain activities, roadblocks, or taking stuff away. You and I hear that all the time, right? Oh, you can't do this. We don't have enough money. Yeah, but you guys are in charge of fundraising. I'm not, right? Contract says we go here. Deflamination. In a broad stroke, somebody in a swimming environment or culture makes untrue or unproven statements that the coach prevents him doing the job. We hear that all the time. That's the big one that's coming through. That can come from parents. It can come from assistant coaches like upset they didn't get moved up or whatever. And it reduces or eliminates your ability to sell your services or to do the job you've been hired for under the conditions what you did. And he finishes off with this one: performance. Rarely have I ever heard of a coach losing his job for lack of performance. Nor have I ever heard a bonus scheme that meant anything. So those are his main things. And he actually, his last thing, he says, coaching templates may be the trick at the start of the beginning. And that goes back to that other group, right? So I think I'm close. I need to get back to both the CAA and I'm thinking I'll draft one email to both of them, the insurance broker and the CAA, the main people I'm dealing with, and bring those questions up. One, where does the professional coach use a consultant? And most times we know those are done for various reasons, to give the coach more freedom, but it also saves the club money and taxis and all that other stuff. And they're used in all sports, not just in swimming. And the professional liability errors and admissions, the only ones that I know have that are the board of directors under Swim BC. Last year, one of the last things that the CEO did here from Swim BC was said that all coaches could not sit on the board of directors because it was a conflict of interest. And that, to me, I didn't understand that in a small club like this. I used to have to sit on the board. Now it's sort of like, no, you guys get on with it. I'll tell you what I think and where we'll go, right? Those are main questions. I think they'll come back pretty quick. This is more important for me to try and get some answers before I go to the weekend, because there's going to be guys there. Barry, when do we go? I need to get back to the Coaches Association of BC and just tell them, that I've sent them the same stuff that I got back yesterday. Mike says I'm out, but Mike's already covered, right? He was the guy that started it up. He's got everything he needs. And he couldn't go back on deck for the University of Calgary. And he's been there 30 years unless he had that coverage. So that's one extreme, right? This is what you need if you want a job. On the other, it's going to be, how do we convince? And I think we've spoke about this a few times now in that there has to be an education model, not a propaganda one, just saying this is how it is in coaching today, irrespective of what type of coach you are. I'm still talking to some coaches that are in the volunteers sector. The first coaches that come on, and what I'm getting from hockey, we don't have any, but they don't think they're insured at all, but they don't think it bothers them. It's sort of like, well, I'm not. And in hockey, you're going, that's all right till you cut a kid, like off the team, or you drop a kid. Then all hell breaks loose. We know that. Right? Or the kid gets injured by not doing something right, not listening or whatever. So I think it's close. The prices, they're negotiating on prices all the time. And I think that's good once you get into that mode. Hey, we'll do this and we'll do that. The education part, I think, from you and I is super important. How do we see it from our point that we can use their stuff, it looks like? I'm going to try and get the dates from them of when they're going to do their big ones and get it to our coaches and saying, all we can do is put it out, right? Listen to it, watch it, and go that way because it's different. Maybe the theme is, right? The background is like old cars. And when you first started coaching, McDonald's was $1.25 for a full meal. It is now $15. This is reality today. But I know we're going to get more. I know we're going to get more interest in it. It's a big topic. It's a really big topic. What do I do? And more, I'm seeing coaches say, I don't want to do this anymore. Don't want to do this. And it's actually tied into how many guys are retiring from politics in your country. I listened to some stuff yesterday, and that They were on about the Republicans have lost 25 and they think after Christmas they'll lose maybe another 10. And the Democrat and the Republican were on the interview and they said, yeah, we're going to talk as a family over Christmas. And one guy saying, I don't want to be on a team that does nothing. I don't want to take this hassle if I can't make change. And those are all things that I think coaches used to do. I always remember Hammy Smith, God bless him, who did a lot of work for swimming and coaching and wrote books and stuff. And Hammy said, I just don't want to be the last guy on the block that is not doing anything. And he got out fairly early. Well, he was still in his late 60s when he got out, but he had a different view. He wanted to always be successful. And he just didn't want to do it for the rest of the other stuff. And now I see the younger coaches going, it's not enough money. It's too much risk. It's too many hours away from the family. And you could take each one of them and put it into, how do we fix this? That goes down to everything from what we're doing here with insurance and education to we need to look on the coaching education side. It's got too expensive for some of these guys to even get through. And the meets some of the meets at the bottom end could be reviewed. We tried it here and it's still not taken up. When we wanted our 10 and unders and the parents only to be there 4 hours max. Bang, done, gone. Just so they can compete with soccer, because that's what soccer is on Saturday morning. We're going to have a little game, kick about, meet some new people, have a little tournament, and you're gone. And they're limited also on like 2 nights a week, playing indoors and 2 nights a week. And I think we have to look at every block. This will be the first block. This will get one problem solved and then work on what do we think the next problem is and what the influence is. Each one of them is sort of neat, but we might need experts in each field on those other things. I think we both have the same problem with our national governing bodies, and that the national governing bodies only look at the sport at the very, very top. They just hope or wish or know that the stream keeps filling up and keeps filling up and filling up. But at some point, there's going to be other sports like soccer. Soccer was going to get a huge boost next year. We know that in every country around the world. Everybody will want soccer. Everybody will want to be a soccer coach or a soccer mom. That's a natural wave that they're going to ride.
I'm still not 100% certain. So this LEI coverage summary is for what Canadian coaches have now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the information that you've asked for months.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything from Swim BC, right? They won't show me what they've got. I'm sure they don't have. If I went through page by page, no. This is not eligible because it doesn't cover coaches that are not on boards, and now it doesn't coach it. Coach can't be on the board in BC.
Getting that clarity is the first step. And then we still haven't really squared all the lines between what the coaches have in their back pocket compared to what the swim organizations say, compared to what the insurance people say.
Yes.
So that's all coming into clarity.
Yeah, it's all coming into clarity. And I feel, I spoke to Rod Barrett, I feel that we have to assume we don't have any of that stuff. Hey, they say we've got this, we could say we've got that. Probably in some areas, it's still going to be questionable. Is it enough? Or is it a package that they took out in the 1970s? Well, on the other side of the coin, we actually have to make sure that all the coaches know as soon as possible. We have some concerns about this. This is what the National Coaching Association is saying you need in today's society. And that's really all we can do. We can get the prices. Their new year doesn't start till March, so we've got some days to go back and forth. Nothing's going to get done over Christmas. I know that. I just want to have these questions answered before the weekend because I know I'd like to get that out by Christmas, to get it out so that they can read. They're not going to do a lot of research, but they have time off from their normal, very heavy schedules. to me, I find it strange that our national governing bodies haven't pushed this more. But in some cases, there's a conflict of interest here. Why would I insure, think about it. I'm the CEO of national government. Why would I insure my coaches for everything? And why would I insure my parents? But they're both members to me. But who am I going to pick when I have to take spikes? You can't take both. You can't invest both. I'm going to send you lawyers too. I'm going to send you the crappy lawyers, right? That could have not gone on. Could have not gone on. So the main emphasis is protect their own package, right? Their office staff, like national coaches, and everybody associated with the national training centers. And the clubs have not been given the guidance. I find it strange that you and I are leading this sort of campaign, and that we should know this. When I go to a clinic, just like I had 3 days last year with the lady from mental health, like the burnout and stress, she spent 3 days with all of us, and it was probably one of the most full sessions for the 3 days over, because she'd done surveys, of that company had done surveys and saying, you guys are already burnt out. We're only into the 6th week of it. But that was coming back from the Olympics. But on this, I put this as high. This is everything. This is coaches' health. This is coaches' well-being. This is coaching development. And it's retention. When you and I started coaching, we probably heard building a program and retention and the two major things, bringing them in and keeping them. Now we hardly hear the words retention ever used in a class. What do you do for retention? Nobody stands up. I'll look after the coaches. It's sort of like, well, the coaches are on their own. They got 2 big groups, and I think it'll come down to what services are offered, right? Like, hey, why should I have a membership in you? And there's going to be, I'm sure, our Canadian swing coaches that will either have to jump in bed with the big coaching association, even though that's where all our education comes from. It's like, this is what you'll cover. Your sport has to look after it. It has to cover these issues. I think this needs to be there too. Hey, your member's not insured. Have you told them? I know those questions are going to come down from somebody. And I think I might even have to sit down with my federal MP here and say that this is an issue. It needs to be brought up. We've had a lot of discussions about sport for life and safe sport. But a major part of it is the coaches. I think the coaches have been left out of a lot of these discussions, or the coaches that were invited are covered. Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping I'm not right, but I'm right in a lot of ways. It's come from the opposite side. It's come from parents group. It's come from the clubs. It's come from administrators. Oh, we got to get rid of all these people that don't follow our rules. It's not come from, well, the coaches are our main assets, really. The kids first, and the coaches next. We don't have a coach, you don't have a program. That's the underlying factor. And if you want to have kids try to go through here and try to be retained from 8 to 20, then you have to have every part. You can't, there is no way you can go through that long ladder and not have every part happy, every part doing their job, and everybody following the rules. Every coach will come up with his own way of how to get athletes better and faster, and they'll be creative. But the other stuff, they need to be in a safe working environment too.
I look a little bit at the schools, and that the pupils and the students are very important, but the teachers have a teachers union. And those are pretty powerful entities here in the States. And the teachers union have influence elections, and they have political action groups, and they have union meetings, and they have union stewards, and they're making sure that they have good contracts and stuff. Whereas then coaches in the schools are not part of the teachers union. We are covered under their contract, but you don't have a voice, you don't have a vote, you don't have any standing in the tables, you don't have any insurance, and they just don't care. So then for years and years, especially our bigger public school district, the coaches were just sort of left out. It is an interesting thing. Now, when you look at all of sport, we need not necessarily a union, but we need somebody to look out for the coaches.
It's a big business.
Yeah. And I also think that you always use the word questions. I have a question, and maybe some of those questions could be framed into true or false questions and a quiz, so that we could, in our educational matter, hey, take this 5-question quiz, coaches, and it'll be like a little bit of a gut check.
Yes.
Where, blah, 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 all these issues, A, B, C, D, you failed the question, or you failed this test, or here's things that you haven't thought about. So I think that'll be one of the ways to evolve the discussion, is to throw out a pop quiz. This document, I wonder if I could make a little 10-question quiz out of that, and then use it as a icebreaker.
Yeah.
And then provide the information. So is this information public?
Yeah, I think so. If you want to wait, I'm sure they're going to get back to me today. We're going to push on this. I think that's good, because we're finding that sometimes those quizzes do two things. One, what knowledge does the coach have? What understanding does the coach have? And also, it goes back to us and saying, well, 80% of them don't think they need it. And then you have to come up with the question or the thing, why do they not think? And Rod already said that to me last week. He said, Barry, the reason that this is going to be not a harder battle sell than what we think, is that 100% of the coaches out there think they're covered on everything you've talked about. And I go, yeah, you and I know that. And there's 3 of us, Master Swimming, have been asking the same question. Rod's been asking the same question for all the coaches. I've been asking for the group, getting them involved, and we can see from the answers and the questions that we're getting from them that we don't have a clue. We're so far behind, right? I'm not going to keep blaming COVID. I'm not going to keep blaming COVID of why this stuff come up. But if we look at what happened, we had the group of parents that were swimming a long time, maybe have been a swimmer themselves, that said, this is enough. I don't want to do it anymore. And they never came back. Then we have a group that, like my boys, I think my boys are doing amazing, seeing they missed 2 years of training. And maybe somebody has to study what benefits did they get during those 2 years. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of articles about all the things that they missed, right? Communication and all that other stuff, or being part of the team. But then we have a group of parents that come in that feel that I need to fast track everything. I want it today. And we see that in everyday life. I own this company. I can get rid of you if you don't do my job, my kid. We have those threats. In a normal business, you go, see the door, sir, don't come back again. That's the different replies, because they know their company stands behind them. No, you were abusive to us. But we see that type of thing now. We never used to see signs when we went to the door, to the doctors or the pharmacies, like abusive stuff won't be tolerated. And some of that goes from people that need help, big time help, but it came from, no, I don't have to say please or thank you to you. Just get the stuff. I see that in Starbucks. And my wife says to me, why do you get so upset? I go, because I hate people not saying please or thank you. I want. Did you understand? I want. I don't. Could you get me? Could I have this, please? And you normally always get better service. You normally always, but you made that person's day a little bit better. And it doesn't take anything, but that's gone. That's gone. And now we're under threat. And I think we have to move fast. Coaching is under threat, not just for our sport, for all sports. And we have to maybe use that opportunity going onto LA because it will be focal point again in our backyard, your backyard, my backyard, and with the World Cup, and say, coaches have to be. Now, let me put it another way. I always said in the UK that coaches are not at the table, and you just mentioned it really. That then in the school, coaches are not at the table. Sport is not at the table. And it took me about a year to sell that story, all that stuff. We go, Barry, what do you mean? What do you mean not at the table? I go, we're not at the table that makes decisions. We're not at the table. We're not at the health agenda, believe it or not. It's just used for political gains when they need it. But so whose fault is it? Is it my fault? I haven't kicked enough doors in, or I haven't spent enough time. And that's how I got those big programs going, because I made a conscious effort. I need to be at this table because they've got a lot of money, more money than they need. And they don't understand our role. And that's a different story, but it's a different line of attack. I try to meet with the mayor as many times as I can in a year. And some of my friends have been in the same city 30 years, never met with me. They don't think it's their role. And you're going, no, he's the guy that will say yay or nay to a lot of stuff you do. And the parents can't do it because they're classed as self-interest groups, or they don't have the skills. Right?
Yes, exactly. Just last night, I spoke to the Pittsburgh Public School Board, public comment, 3 minutes.
Mhm.
Got my name in the paper. Not that I pat myself on the back, but they want to raise taxes. And I also mentioned, oh, by the way, let's talk about Athletic Reform Task Force. Let's talk about how we can keep families living in the city because you're not doing it. And then there's one other thing I was going to, turn it into one of the podcasts. A coach of a community gave a letter. I'll share that with you soon about whether he should come back or not. And if 5 families wrote, don't hire the coach, in an email to the administrators at the school, then he was going to be terminated. It was a banquet speech with a memo. Should you hire me or should you fire me? It's up to you people to send out the email. It was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So anyways, you're right. We're not at the table and we need to be. And that's something that I've been battling with, and to some success, to a lot of other failures.
The project in the UK, I called it barrier removal. We have to remove the barriers. We have to understand that they are there. They're there for me, in different counties. They were there in different counties for different reasons and different outcomes. And I couldn't close my eyes and put my head in the sand and say they're not there. I had to sort of get to the point and go, somehow I got to get some money. Most times it was money or funding. But other times it's attitude. It's ability to make changes or make a case. Why should we do this? And I was battling for some of the strongest, most, I'm not going to say vile, but angry young people you could come across because they feel they've been injustice, but their whole families for maybe 3 generations had never worked. So they were on a different scale of life than I was, and I felt sorry for them. Went into some of their houses and you wouldn't believe how they were living. You have to understand that if you want to do something, then you have, we talk about it in coaching, you have to make change. You can't carry on with that. You can't keep carrying on. I don't want to keep giving all these people all this free money. You go, well, what are you going to do to change it? Oh, we'll just cut them off. They go, no, they didn't go away. It didn't go away. The same problem's still there. In fact, you've just made it 5 times bigger by making that one comment or one decision. And you turn a whole bundle. Oh, they'll deal with it. They'll go away. You go, no, they're not. They're just getting bigger, and there's more of them and more of them and more. And there are so many steps along that it was a learning curve for me, what I could do, what I couldn't do. going into prisons, not going into prisons. Being in prison gave me a better idea of how bad it is. Going through the process of the family, kids getting sent to things, made me, I've always been sort of open-minded about stuff. I go, this isn't just about this kid. It's about his whole family, about all his friends. And sport was never at the table before we started those arguments. You know, we got the odd money from here and the odd money from there. But I always remember one of the last questions on my interview to get that job said, what's the first thing you're going to do if we give you the job next week? And I'd already done my dog and pony show about what I wanted to do. I said, I'm going to phone David Beckham or the coach at Man U and ask him, can we sit down and talk about some issue? And they said, really? I said, yeah. Not Liverpool? I go, no, I got more. Man U's, I've been a Man U fan since I was 5 or 6. I said, I know they do little things with kids in Manchester, but you don't live in Manchester, Barry. I said, I don't mind. I don't mind. And really, it was 2 weeks after I made that call. And we got everything rolling. And once you get somebody like Man U behind you, you start to open doors very quickly. I want to be on that. I want to be on this. And so that was a learning curve for me. And it was like, if you go to the top, you might get some no's, but they got more money and more flexibility, more facilities, and a bigger image that you cannot create in the next 4 or 5 years. And we went from that phone call to less than 2 years. I mean, some of our kids walk out in a World Cup game as the mascots with the players. Some of the biggest games they ever had. And those things will stay with me till they put me in the ground or whatever they're going to do with me. But we need at this point, because I'm seeing more and more young guys get disillusioned when they should be excited about the sport and the role and the job. And I think we all have to do that. Maybe we need to have a Zoom session with guys that are passionate about the sport, not about getting the medals or this and that. They think you probably know some in the back of your head and say, we need to bring these guys all together, even if it's for 1 hour, saying this is the issue. What can we do about it? Anyway.
Get involved. Sign up at hon.lap.red. Subscribe to the podcast Heavy or Not, the OG Swim Guide.